Corruption is a dishonest or criminal offense committed by a person or an organization who is entrusted with a position of authority and uses that trust to acquire illicit benefits or abuses that power for other personal gains. Corruption may involve many activities which include bribery, influence peddling, and embezzlement. It may also involve practices which are illegal in many countries. Political corruption occurs when an office holder or other government employee acts in an official capacity for personal gain. Corruption and crime are endemic sociological occurrences which appear with regular frequencies in virtually all countries on a global scale in varying degrees and proportions. Today on The Eagle, we shall be looking at the impact of grand corruption on Nigeria. Thanks for joining us on The Eagle. My name is Aisha Muhammad.
I am Abdurrashid Bawa. I stand against corruption. I call on every patriotic Nigerian to lend their voices in this crusade. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. Together we will make Nigeria great.
Executive Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC, Abdurrashid Bawa, has called on the media to shun biases of ethnicity, religion and political affiliations in the reporting of financial crimes, stressing that the fight against corruption should transcend such considerations. Bawa gave the charge in Abuja while declaring open a one-day workshop on financial crimes reporting organized by the EFCC for financial crimes reporters. Amina Kawa tells us more.
The EFCC chairman explained that the commission is making progress in securing convictions, pointing out that as at August 5, 2022, the commission has secured 2,210 convictions. He assured Nigerians of improved exchange rate of the naira, stressing that through the EFCC's intervention, the declining exchange rate of the naira has been reversed.
Some of you will recall at the end of the year 2021, the EFCC reported that we have secured 2,220 convictions. But I'm happy to report to you today that as at the 5th of August 2022, we have already recorded 2,210. Only 10 convictions short of what we have recorded last year as a whole, as at August. However, one of the achievements which most of you may not easily recognize is the impact of the EFCC by bringing down the forex from 710 or so that it was some few weeks ago to what it is today.
The workshop provided resource persons that spoke on different topics, including Head Legal and Prosecution Unit, Sylvanus Tahir, Assistant Director, Media and Publicity Unit, Dele Oyewole, and Head Cybercrime Section of the EFCC, Nuru Buhari El-Hatu. Tahir, who spoke through Assistant Commander of the EFCC, Samuel Okeleke, itemized several challenges of prosecuting economic and financial crimes in Nigeria. According to him, such hurdles include non-cooperation of potential prosecution witnesses, nature of evidence gathered at the investigation stage, prosecutorial competences of the prosecuting counsel, strength of transparency and fairness of the presiding judge in the trial, and gaps in the law guiding prosecution. He pointed out that no trial can succeed if the trial judge is partial. Speaking on the topic, best practices in financial crimes reporting, Oyewole noted that economic and financial crimes across the world are evolving with disturbing dynamics and criminality outpacing technological advancement at breathtaking sophistication. He called on the media to attune itself to the rising strides and trends of criminality, while at the same time rising to the challenges of hard work, integrity, self-motivation, and clear focus in their reporting. He said, unless issues of not reporting, underreporting, and non-follow-up of existing cases in court are addressed, best practices in financial crimes reporting will be a mirage.
If you don't attune yourself to the nature of a crime, you might not be able to satisfactorily and adequately report the crime. So the first poster I am dropping now is that criminality all over the world is evolving with very disturbing, very crazy dynamics. But that as a financial reporter, you need to be abreast of what is happening. You need to be able to keep pace with what is happening so that you'll be able to adequately and sufficiently and professionally report what is happening.
I'd like to tackle the peculiarities, trends, typologies, and challenges of cybercrimes enforcement in Nigeria and drive the increasing sophistication of hackers and other internet fraudsters in the country. He spoke about the networking of cybercrime fraudsters across the world and the need to be more watchful and cautious with internet users. He said, cybercrime fraudsters employ hackers from different parts of the world to compromise the systems of banks and other sensitive organizations, but there is no hacking that can succeed without an insider compromise.
The public-private partnership is necessary, but it's not forthcoming. Today, if some hackers hit a bank, first, the bank doesn't want the public to know. So, and they know, okay, no, we better take it to which law enforcement doesn't go to be there fast. Okay, the list on the list is EFCC, because yes, if EFCC know about this, it will be on the media.
Al-Hatu warned organizations to be fair to their employees because hackers always succeed through the involvement of aggrieved staff in any establishment. He further charged the media to step up enlightenment on the hazards of cybercrimes to save the public losses and grave risks to their investments.
The Executive Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC, Abdurrashid Bawa, has assured civil society organizations, CSOs across the country, of improved collaboration in the fight against economic and financial crimes, stressing, according to him, the partnership with stakeholders is one of the strategic objectives of the EFCC. Bawa made this known at the headquarters of the EFCC in Jabi while addressing members of Nigerian Society Committee of Youth on Mobilization and Sensitization, CYMS, during a courtesy call to him. Amina Kawa again has the details.
Bawa commended the Committee of Youth on Mobilization and Sensitization, CYMS, for identifying with the EFCC in the fight against corruption through its social media engagements and other programs. He expressed delight with volunteers in the group, urging them to mobilize more youth and patriotic Nigerians to drive the anti-corruption campaign. Bawa said that every Nigerian should be part of the fight against economic and financial crimes in Nigeria because it is the only country we have and we all must come together to salvage it.
So I want to assure you first and foremost that the Commission, within our mandate and subject to, of course, our own capability and capacity in terms of human and material resources, are going to partner with you to ensure that your objectives, as well as ours, is achieved through your medium as well as others. It may interest you, the DG and the ESCO, to know that we recently launched, just to tell you how passionate we are about engagement with the general public. We recently launched our strategic plan, and the first strategic objective that we have is what? To have an increased public engagement in the fight against corruption.
The EFCC boss further charged the group to include campaigns against cybercrimes in its engagements. The Director General of the Committee of Youth on Mobilization and Sensitization, Comrade Obinna Nwaka, applauded the tremendous work Bawa has been doing since reception as the EFCC Executive Chairman and assured him of his group's undying support.
So today, we are here to have an interface with the Chairman. Mr. Chairman, before now, our organization Committee of Youth on Mobilization and Sensitization have been praying for you. We have been supporting you technically using our own platform to make sure that the public are aware of what the Commission is doing. we don't want to go far to do what we are not asked to do. That is why we say, okay, let us make this thing an official working relationship so that we can use our strengths and our organization to assist and work with the Commission effectively.
Amina Kawa, reporting for the Eagle.
The chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), Abdurrashid Bawa, has called for collaborative measures by relevant stakeholders as a way of militating against bank failure in the country. Bawa said forensic analysis of the annual reports, bank statements, and other financial documents of some of the failed banks investigated by the EFCC clearly showed a pattern necessitating collaborative measures that could make the nation's banking sector to work more effectively. Bawa stated this while delivering a goodwill message at the opening of a 2-day workshop with the theme, Effective Investigation and Prosecution of Banking Malpractices that Led to the Failure of Banks, organized by the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, in Lagos. Ojochokta Meche is our guide.
The EFCC chairman, who was represented by Zonal Commander EFCC Lagos Command Ahmed Gali, said many households, small businesses and large corporations had always relied on banks to provide their financial needs at one time or the other. Most banks had fallen short of expectations in this regard due to fraud, mismanagement, inexperience, and the initial absence of regulatory laws and authorities. Taking a historical look at the banking sector, Bawa pointed out that failure in the banking industry was first experienced in Nigeria between 1930 and 1958, when the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) was established, and within this period, more than 21 cases of bank failures were recorded. Some of the banks affected during this period were Alpha Merchant Bank, Financial Merchant Bank, and Republic Bank, as recorded in CBN's Statistical Bulletin of 1988.
In Nigeria, we first recorded failure of banks between 1930 and 1958. When some banks failed and liquidated, as a matter of fact, more than 21 banks failed between that period. So when the Central Bank of Nigeria was established, some of these reforms started. If you check back, there are some banks like Alpha Bank, Financial Merchant Bank, and Republican Bank were some of the banks that failed then.
To change the narrative and save the Nigerian banking sector from a near collapse, Bawa pointed out that the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) in 2004 increased the minimum paid-up capital of banks to 25 billion naira from 2 billion naira. This policy was effected in 2005 and was meant to consolidate the existing banks into fewer, larger and financially stronger banks. As a result of the implementation of this policy, the 89 banks that existed as at 2004 decreased to 25 larger, better capitalized banks in 2005. Furthermore, the enactment of the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation (NDIC) Act in 2006 became a major landmark in Nigeria's banking sector, as it made provisions for the insurance of all deposit liabilities of licensed banks operating in Nigeria. In 2010, the CBN, however, came up with another policy, which is a fundamental reversal of the consolidation policy in 2005. The tragic collapse of some of the failed banks means that the banking industry has been cajoled and manipulated by human beings and smart fraudsters, thus leaving the bank literally struggling for breath. While emphasizing the need for forensic analysis of financial documents and watertight investigation as a way of checkmating the trend in the sector, Bawa further stated that lack of good corporate governance and accountability were reasons for bank failures in the country. According to him, in some of the failed banks, the management stole billions of naira in the name of borrowing. Some even gambled with depositors' funds to speculate on the stock market and manipulate share prices. The EFCC boss, who also urged the NDIC to embrace technology to meet up with the investigative and prosecutorial challenges of the 21st century, also called for cooperation from those who should furnish investigators with relevant information. He also lamented the slow pace of court proceedings and interference from different quarters during investigations as a major challenge to the effective investigation and prosecution of fraud in banks. Ojo Chokutami Eche, reporting for The Eagle.
Next on the program is Conviction Update with Abbas Abubakar Umar.
A famous writer and film producer, Judge Edward Griffin, said, and I quote, "To oppose corruption in government is the highest obligation of patriotism. It is not just saying no to economic and financial crimes at the public, private and individual levels alone that indicate true patriotism, but saying no and reporting economic and financial crimes in all its ramifications that matter." The headquarters of the Commission recorded 21 convictions between August 8 to 12, 2022, while the Ibadan Zonal Command had 12. Next on the list is the Kaduna Command with 9 convictions. Lagos Command recorded 8 convictions, while the Abuja, Gombe and Uyo commands of the Commission posted 5 convictions each. The Makurdi, Maiduguri and Ilorin Zonal Command recorded 2 convictions in the week under review. The total convictions for the week of August 8 to 12, 2022 was 71 convictions. There is one overriding principle in law that says ignorance of the law is no excuse, and this is why the EFCC is making efforts to sensitize the public on the ills of economic and financial crimes. The Commission urges Nigerian citizens to say and do something when they see something. Over to you, Aisha.
Grand corruption is the misuse or abuse of high-level power. It involves large-scale or large sums of money and often leads to harmful consequences. With high-level corruption scandals often remaining unpunished, there have been increased effort to establish a legal definition of grand corruption as a first step towards the empowerment of national and international authorities with better legal tools to pursue corrupt high-level officials and to end impunity. Today on the interview segment, Golden Onura and our guest will be discussing the impact of grand corruption on Nigeria. Over to you, Golden.
Over time, experts have tried to categorize the word corruption into so many levels, ranging from petty corruption to what they describe as grand corruption. According to Transparency International, grand corruption is the abuse of high-level power that benefits the few at the expense of the many. Welcome to the interview segment. My name is Golden Omura, discussing the topic for the day, impact of grand corruption on Nigeria today.
My name is Abdul Qadir Salih.
The Transparency International has defined grand corruption, but I'm sure our viewers at home would like it to be further broken down. So what is grand corruption?
Before I do that, I would like to lay a foundation on corruption generally, because there are no acceptable one definition of corruption. However, the corruption is a global problem, and apart from national efforts, there are international laws and protocols that guide the combat of corruption. Prominent amongst which are African Union Convention on Prevention and Combating Corruption. There is also the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, that's UNCAC. Nigeria is a state party to these 2 laws. So by so doing, Nigeria established the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000, which gives us a definition of what corruption is and which Nigerians are adopting as. Simply put, it includes bribery, fraud, and other related offenses, which could be taking a bribe, committing fraud by deceiving someone, or misappropriation of funds meant for projects. So if you relate it to grand corruption, it means perpetrating these acts in high places. For instance, political office holders in the judiciary, in the legislature, even in health and electoral offices. So put together, this is what can be summed up as grand corruption.
What would you say are the effects of grand corruption on the nation's citizens and economic sustainability?
So causes of corruption in Nigeria basically is greed, economic insecurity, weak social norms, and unpatriotism. This put together on the part of the citizens form what causes grand corruption and even corruption in small places. Economic insecurity is where someone who is working or like a civil servant who hardly receives his salaries, basically due to also the non-performance of its political leaders. You will see where people are hold salaries up to 10, 12 months. So those who feel like, I don't want to fall into this category, will start cutting corners just to make sure that they make ends meet. So some of these things encourage corrupt practices, where you see a clerk trying to get something in order to treat a file, and other workers in various organizations.
What you just discussed, grand corruption is mostly perpetrated by the highly placed and privileged in the society. So what are the challenges the Commission faces from this front in the fight against this menace?
That's why they say corruption fights back when you fight corruption. So they use all means. These people have so much resources at their state. So they use every means to frustrate for corruption investigations and other investigations into corrupt practices. And part of these challenges is using the judiciary. So the judiciary will have to resist being used as elements of frustrating judicial processes and rather cooperate with the law enforcement agents who are seeking to curb grand corruption in high places.
Before we wrap up the program, what are your parting words?
Yes, in essence, the fight against grand corruption have to be proactive. Most cases, what the anti-corruption agencies are doing now is reactive. The EFCC is trying as much to be in that line. And part of what I would suggest and what the executive chairman has been encouraging is for agencies of government to conduct corruption risk assessment. This will show vulnerabilities in their systems. And by so doing, these vulnerabilities can be plugged before it becomes a problem. So each agency will identify what problem they have and how to tackle it. So corruption risk assessment is very essential. Anti-corruption units in these agencies will also prevent corruption. When you know that somebody is watching you, you take care and make sure you do the right thing.
Thank you, Golden, for that interview. According to a Dutch philosopher, Desiderius Erasmus, prevention is better than cure. This explains the importance placed on the preventive mandate of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Accordingly, the EFCC Twitter space hosts EFCC Connect, a weekly town hall meeting every Wednesday at 6 p.m. which serves as a veritable platform to engage the public constructively. This week on the Connect, we shall be discussing crime scene management, what you need to know. Join the conversation for this and more. And we've come to the end of today's episode of The Eagle. But before I let you go, here is a reminder that you can send an email to info@efcc.gov.ng and speak to our officers or representatives on 0809 3322644 and follow us on all our social media platforms at Official EFCC. Use the EFCC mobile app, The Eagle Eye, to report any fraud you see happening around you. You can download the app, follow the steps, and report fraud on the go. And you can also take pictures of corrupt practices and upload them. I am Aisha Muhammad, leaving you with these words from David Cameron that says, "The evil of corruption reaches every corner of the world. It lies at the heart of the most urgent problems we face, from economic uncertainty to endemic poverty. It is the ever-present threat of radicalization and extremism. Let's join hands with the EFCC to eradicate economic and financial crimes. Stand for integrity always. Thanks for staying with us, and may God continue to bless Nigeria. Please do stay safe, be kind to yourself and to others, and do enjoy the rest of the week.